Now, I will be the first one to admit it that I hate these guys that talk about living to 100, 110, 120, whatever. And yes, I'm talking about you, Dave Asprey. But let's be honest, it did get you to click on the video, didn't it? And I don't even know who I hate more, the live past 100 guys or those make $1 million guys. They are both such douches. However, I will say it is a good idea to have a live longer plan, but it's an even better idea to have a live better longer plan, and that's where the difference is. So at 48 and a half, I have an 8-year-old son, and this has got me, and he'll be actually 9 in about a month. This has been very much heavy on my mind for the last few years. So I'd like to tell you about my current plan. And yes, I do say current plan because as things come up, science and studies, different little things here and there that are going to just happen, then there will be some tweaks and changes that will come along with that. But overall, when I look at the modern science and what it's telling us, plus my many, many years of living through Asia and India and learning a lot about cultural traditions and ancient wellness practices, well, I can honestly say I have a pretty good grasp on the whole thing. And of course, there's other aspects that get involved like social life, relationships, economics, healthcare, even your geography, your environment. But this is more of a list of my day-to-day actions that I'm doing and that you can do too. So with that said, let's get to it. So the first one is my cardio. Now, cardio is something that I've gone back and forth on for years. Like everybody else, when I first got into fitness, I was doing a lot of cardio, just basically, want to lose weight, you go running. Over the years, I got in and out of it to the point where I really wasn't doing any of the last few years. But basically what we're seeing now is that having a high VO2 max or just really good cardiovascular health is very, very important when it comes to recovery, when it comes to sleep, even when it comes to building more muscle. So cardio is something that I'm focusing a lot on, and now I have specific days that are cardio and specific days that are weight training. Now, another thing that I'm doing within that is I'm always making sure that I hit my 10,000 steps a day, and I do that through lots of non-exercise activity thermogenesis and making sure that I'm doing more things like taking more walks, using my standing desk more and more. Now, one of the things that a lot of people don't know, because you see me on the screen here, is that I'm actually 6'4", about 220 pounds, and the fact is, taller people die earlier. And one of the reasons for that, it's been theorized, or I don't even know, it might even be proven at this point, is that it basically has to do with your cardiovascular system, and that your heart just has a much harder job to do by pushing all that blood, say, down to your toes and back up. So if you're a guy, you're already at a higher risk for dying earlier. And if you're a tall guy, you're at an even higher risk than just being a guy dying earlier. So getting in your cardio, guys, is the number one thing that you can do. And I divide my cardio up into 3 kinds. There's VO2 max training, which I do basically once to twice a week. Now, I'm going to be honest, it's probably a little more once at this point. But I also do zone 2 cardio for about 30 minutes, and I do that 2 times to 3 times a week. And finally, I make sure, like I said, I get my minimum 10,000 steps a day. Now, I guess I should clarify that it's not literally 10,000 steps every day. There's no evidence that 10,000 steps does really anything more than, say, 7,000 or 8,000. My bare minimum in a day is 8,000, but I do like to aim for anywhere between 10 and 12 because I just find that's where I feel better. That really also helps to maintain my weight as well, and I just overall enjoy it. Number 2 is focusing on building muscle mass, and this is where so many guys in their 40s go wrong. They all go into the gym and they just go through the motions and they just maintain. Now, I actually work out at a couple community centers, and I'm going to be honest, guys, it is brutal, the training I see there from guys over 40. So many of them are just going through the motions. They're doing half reps. They're doing everything light. They're spending 5 minutes talking between sets. They're not pushing themselves. Everything is just, not doing anything at all. Guys, you got to make sure when you go into the gym, if you're going to spend the time in the gym, then go in there and train. That means have a really good program. And when it comes to building muscle mass, particularly for longevity, what are we seeing? Well, besides the VO2 max I talked about a minute ago and mobility, which we'll get to, it's lower body strength. And again, 6'4", tall white guy, lower body strength. It's not my God's blessed gift. So I have to really go in there and work on posterior chain. That means the backside. So I'm doing a lot of back work, upper back work, lower back work, as well as hamstrings and glutes, and really getting your whole backside, the side that you don't see in the mirror, stronger. Number 3, make sure that you are getting in power. The ability to explode, the ability to move quickly is something that is lost over time. It's the first physical attribute that actually starts to decline as you age. And most people by their 30s have already lost significant amounts of power because they don't train for it. Now, most gyms are not set up for your traditional sort of what people think of as power training, which is like Olympic lifting and stuff like that. And guys, I don't do anything like that. It really comes down to adding in some jumps, some throws, or some sprints into your program. And it doesn't have to be crazy. They can just be done in your warm-up. They can be done within your set. Maybe you go and let's say, I'm going to give you a really easy one, a really easy example. So bench press. You go and you do a warm-up set of bench press, another warm-up set of bench press. You give yourself 1 or 2 sets of warming up, adding a little bit of weight. Then when you get up to maybe, I don't know, 70% of what you're going to be kind of maxing that day, you'll do a few speed reps. Boom, boom, boom. If you're doing some deadlifts, do a few jumps, a couple broad jumps before you do it. On a cardio day, after you warm up, throw a couple sprints in there. Guys, power training is so important and it doesn't have to be that complex. Now, saying that, you do need to understand what power is. Power is the ability to show strength at high speeds. So if you are not very strong, then you are not going to be very powerful. So I would say this, if your strength is lacking, build up your strength first. And then, of course, we're going to want to make sure that we have our mobility going before we work on power. But when you have those 2 things down, power is going to be something that you have to work on. And again, guys, it's only a few minutes, a few times a week. Now, I mentioned mobility a couple times now, and mobility, guys, is probably the number 1 thing that I'm working on. And this should be the number 1 thing you're working on too, to a point, because mobility is something that you have to do every single day. I made the mistakes for years of just going and doing mobility when I was at the gym, or thinking, hey, if I do a yoga class once or twice a week, that is something that's going to help me be more mobile. And the fact is it didn't. Now, was I more mobile in the class? Yes. I'll give you a great story. When I lived in Bangkok, Thailand, guys, is 30 to 40 degrees every single day. It's like 100 degrees if you're in the States. And yet I would still go after work to hot yoga. So I would go and leave the 30-degree environment to go to a 45-degree room to do a bunch of stretching because I thought that's what it takes. And by the end of that class, I could have my palms on my hand. But you know what happens the very next day? I'd be right back to being that stiff white guy in Asia all over again. So now what I do is I make sure I have a space on the floor and I do mobility training every single day. I have a number of really simple little stretches. I'm more than happy to send them out to you if you're interested. It's nothing crazy, takes about 10 minutes. Sometimes too, what I'll do is I have 2 or 3 of my favorite yoga YouTubers that I watch, and I have a couple of their videos that just I save, and I will just watch those. On top of that, I do try to do yoga at least once a week. Now, I haven't joined a yoga class yet, but my wife and I are talking about it, and that's probably going to be something that we're going to start soon. But you guys need to understand, mobility, movement is going to help you build more muscles. It's going to allow you to get in those deeper ranges of motion. Movement and the building the muscle and the strength in those movements is going to help you when you want to work on your power. So guys, you got to be combining all these together. You need the cardio to push yourself aerobically at the gym. You need the strength to be able to move things quickly. You need the power to be able to move things quickly. And you need the mobility to be able to make sure that you're getting in all those awesome deep stretch positions that's going to allow you to do all those other 3 so much better. Number 5, stress reduction. Now, I am an ADHD boy to the max. My dad was, I am, my kid is. ADHD runs in my family, and it runs in my family hard. But because of that, I also tend to get a lot of anxiety. I get stressed out really easy. So one of the things that I've really started adding into my life, well, there's 2. I've started adding in more meditation. Now, I've been to India twice to study meditation and yoga. I lived in Thailand. I've studied with Buddhist monks. I've gone to China. I've learned about Tai Chi. I've learned about all different styles of sort of that mindful movement and breathing patterns. And now I even have a small meditation room in my house that I just call my Zen zone. But the biggest mistake guys make is they just think, oh, I'm going to do these, once or twice a week meditation practices or a few minutes of meditation a day and it's going to make all my stress go away. No, you have to do a few things. Number 1, it's not about just breathing during your meditation time, but it's about learning to breathe through your nose, and nasal breathing is really important, guys, at all times of the day. It's about sitting in the car and breathing slowly. It's about understanding when you're breathing heavy. It's about controlling your breath 24 hours, 7 days a week. I even use a nasal strip at night to help open my nose so I can get in better breathing. Besides that, you also basically, and I've talked about this before, you have two spheres of stress. You have stresses that you cannot control, and you have stresses that you can control. The ones that you cannot control, I forget which hand it is now, you throw those away and you don't worry about them because you can't control them. If you get stressed out by the news, who's going to become the president, what's happening in this country, what's happening in that country, oh, there's a killer on the other side of the planet. That stuff is going to stress you out and there's nothing you can do about it. Well, there is. You can turn off the news. Now, the things that do stress you out, well, I'm sorry, but you got to man up and figure that out. If it is a lack of money that's stressing you out, which is most people, almost everybody, is going to be money problems. You have to ask yourself a few things. Why do I have those money problems? Is it because I'm trying to keep up with? Is it because I'm not making enough? Is it because I'm spending too much? You have to do something about it. And if that means you got to pick up a side gig or you got to cut some things out that you really enjoy, I don't know what it is, guys. You got to sit down and you got to solve it. So you got to get on the whiteboard, a chalkboard, whatever it is, on a piece of paper, and you got to write out 3 to 4 biggest stressors in your life and you have to handle them. If it's your job that's stressing you up, then you have to start looking for another job. If it's money problems, like I said, it's got to be money. If it's relationships, you have to handle that. You just can't keep ignoring things that are stressing you out, and you just can't keep hoping they're going to be better. The only way to make them better is by making them better. Number 6 is what's called eustressors. Now there's de-stress, which is bad things when you're in distress. That's like anxiety, or that's like things that are stressing you out. But then there's eustressors, and I do a lot of those. And now there's a whole bunch of stuff you could talk about eustressors as nutritional eustressors, but for the most part, think of it, guys, things like exercise is a eustressor, right? The proper amounts of exercise is going to help you basically, exercise breaks you down, but then what you do outside the gym builds you back up, which is why you got to handle the stress, you got to handle your nutrition. But I'll do things like cold dips. I love to do steam rooms. I love to do saunas. I like to go out and get a little bit of sun every day. So get out there and start doing things. Take yourself out of comfort zone. I often sign up for online courses that have me thinking and kind of going, and making me work a little bit harder than most people do, right? Get out there and ask yourself, there are some things that I can do that are going to stress me in the good way, not so much that it's going to cause me anxiety, but also not so little that I'm kind of in this comfort zone where I'm not really feeling like I'm ever pushing myself. So find out what those are for you. The easiest ones right now, guys, I think are things like cold showers, saunas, steam rooms, some exercise, even some mobility work, taking a class, something yoga that you haven't done before, anything that just adds a little bit of positive stress in your life that is going to help you become more resilient. Number 7 is nutrition. And I kind of touched on this before, but I'm handling my nutrition big time. Now, nutrition is a weird one for me. I've gone through many different phases in my life. I've gone through the whole eating nothing but clean. I've gone through if it fits your macros. But at 48, guys, you gotta tie all this shit together. I'm sorry, but you do. So now what I do is I focus on 3 things. I ask myself, is it fitting my calories? Am I getting my protein, my carbohydrates, and my fats all in the proper order for me? That's that kind of if it fits your macros sort of philosophy. But at the same time, I'm going, is it hitting my micronutrient needs? And I'm making sure that, guys, I am getting in some amazing micronutrients. I have rules. Every day I must get at least 1 probiotic food. Every day I must get at least 1 nitrate food. Every day I must get in a purple food with what's an anthocyanin. Every day I must get in a really good quality red food. So foods that are on my list, guys, right now are beets almost every single day. I have a great garden outside full of beets and little baby cherry tomatoes. Eat those a lot. Blueberries are high up on my list right now. Pomegranate seeds are high up on my list. I add curcumin to pretty much all my eggs. That's high on my list. Probiotics that I'll use are, I have kombucha, I have yogurt, and I have properly made sauerkraut. Those are my 3 main probiotic foods that I eat every single day. But making sure, guys, that you're getting in those really good nutrients. So I buy a lot of what they call, high nutrient, low calorie foods. I have watercress, parsley. I eat a lot of herbs and spices. I have tons. You can see behind me, the middle back there. We got oranges, lemons, strawberries, watermelon. I got lots of different foods back there that are great for all the different reasons that are really going to help optimize everything in your life, from your fitness to your hormones to your cardiovascular system to your brain health. Got to make sure, guys, that you're getting in those micronutrients. If you're over 40, it's a must. Start eating like everything you have is a fine wine. Another one I have is dark chocolate. I have 100% dark chocolate. Now, if you don't like that, do an 80%, do a 90%. But dark chocolate's amazing too. And I'm not saying you have to go buy all this crazy organic stuff. I don't own anything organic. I have a great fruit and veggie wash. But guys, I do all my shopping at your regular grocery stores, Walmart, and pretty much some Asian grocery markets. That is it. I do not get into fancy foods. I don't have acai. I did pomegranates, but to be honest, they're quite cheap nowadays. I don't have a lot of the trendy stuff you see out there. I don't do a lot of kale. I'd rather just do spinach or just beet leaves from my garden. Getting in your micronutrition, guys, it's going to be so important. And finally, I eat and I supplement and I even exercise according to my DNA. Now, I am not saying that a DNA test tells you, just like those blood tests that tells you, hey, this is the kind of food you eat, but a DNA test can give you some really good insight in areas that your body might be lacking in. So I had a DNA test through DNA Power, which is probably, in my opinion, probably the best company that you can work with when it comes to anything to do with your DNA and your health, because they're focused on DNA testing only for your health. It's not about telling you where you came from. It's not telling you that your great-great-great-grandfather was from Greece or anything like that, or related to Genghis Khan. That doesn't matter. What it does is it measures over 200 genetic variations that teaches you all the things that you may be deficient in. So for instance, I changed my omega-3s. I changed my vitamin B12. I started adding in more vitamin A. The gym, because I found out that I'm at a higher genetic disadvantage when it comes to, say, things like ligament tears and joint injuries. I've started adding in more eccentrics and more isometrics. There's so many great things that you can learn about your genetics that are going to help you make much better choices when it comes to your supplements, when it comes to your eating, and when it comes to your nutrition. And if you're interested, if you go to DNApower.com and you use the code ROARFitness50, that's ROR, the word fitness 50, one word, that you will get $50 off any genetic test that you get through them. I really suggest the Total Power though. It's not a whole lot more, and it's going to give you all the tests in one. That's the one that I did, which combines all the tests together. That's how I know all their tests good. But in my opinion, I would definitely take that one. So guys, check them out. That's at DNApower.com. And so that's it, guys. Honestly, that is it at this point. I'm not doing anything super crazy besides just making sure that my workout program is optimized towards the things that have been proven to help you live leaner, stronger, longer, and a hell of a lot better. I am making sure that, I'm having fun in my day too. I'm planning fun. I'm making sure I'm trying to reduce my stress, and I'm eating really well. That is really it when it comes to what you can do in your power right now, today, this minute, starting to help you live not just longer, but more importantly, live better longer. Because it's not about living to 100, but being in some bed and decrepit for the last 20 years. I'd rather live to say 85 or 90, but enjoy those, being snowboarding or skiing or just hanging out on the beach or taking walks and just doing the stuff that sometimes you see those older people doing. You're just like, that is so impressive. Just even going to the gym in my 70s and 80s. So that's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed this. And of course, I'm here to help you do what? Well, I'm here to help you live leaner, stronger, longer, and obviously a hell of a lot better. Talk to you again soon. Hey guys, thanks for watching. And if you like this video, make sure you check out this one right here. And when you're at the gym, driving, out on a walk or run, and you want to hear lots more great content put in your ears, make sure to check out my Barbells to Buddhas podcast on your favorite podcast app.